Welcome back to the Relationships Made Simple for Men podcast with me, Bryce Bauer. Today, I'm going to be talking about the three types of complaints that you will get from your partner. And it's important to know the difference because depending on the category of complaint, you will deal with it differently. And I know that you know what I'm talking about because if you've ever lived with someone for an extended period of time, you know that there are things that come up and complaints get expressed. And when I say complaint, I mean that your partner is bringing something that they find unsatisfactory or they have a need that is not getting met. Complaints often have a negative connotation, but what I'd invite you to do is to look at these as neutral. They're just information. And I know that a lot of people struggle to bring up complaints in a skillful way, and you might struggle to receive complaints in a skillful way. But by learning to go through these conflicts, this is what helps us actually build security in the relationship. When I know that I can bring up things that I'm uncomfortable with and you can receive them, and vice versa, we continually grow our relational capacity to talk about things and solve problems or make space for things that are maybe different because you're not going to resolve all your problems. And this is why I wanted to do this video, because by understanding what category they fall into, this will better help you understand how to deal with them. And sometimes there's an underlying need that we don't see. We just see the surface complaint and we try to fix that when really there's something deeper happening and that needs to get flushed out to really get resolved. And I think this will make more sense as I go along. So I'll just get into it. So at their core, complaints boil down to three main issues. The first are safety issues, emotional or physical. The second are fairness issues. Am I getting a good deal here? Are you pulling your weight? And the third is emotional issues. Are you able to make space for my feelings? Do you care about what's happening for me? Basically, am I okay in your presence as I am? So let's talk about the first one. Physical and emotional safety issues. One example may be that your partner is concerned with how you're taking care of your body. Maybe you're overweight, maybe you're drinking, smoking, you have pain or injuries that you're not doing anything to take care of. Maybe you have heart issues, or maybe you're doing some activity that is fairly dangerous. Your body and life are at risk. I find that this is more likely to happen with men than with women doing dangerous activities. But there can be a real impact here. I mean, at its most extreme, if you were a skydiver and your wife or partner knew that any day she could get the call that your parachute didn't open and you're dead, that's going to really disrupt her life. I mean, obviously, but that is something, some stress that she might be carrying with her that you don't have to, because this is something you like to do and you think it's fine and it's safe enough. And if you die, then you're dead. So what? Or maybe you like to go on long trips into the wilderness to hunt or fish or backpack, and you have no way to contact anyone if something goes wrong. This may be a stress that your partner has to carry that you're unaware of, or that you don't want to hear because you want to go out and do your thing. Or maybe you like to ride motorcycles. My dad loves riding motorcycles. He rides almost every day that he can. And not every partner is going to be bothered by this, but the more and more I talk to women, I see that they are. They just don't want to acknowledge it because they don't want to be a nag. They don't want to be a Debbie Downer. They don't want to intrude on their partner's hobbies or their ability to have fun. It's worth opening up this conversation with your partner, because you might be having more of an impact on them than you realize. And this is coming from my own personal experience where I've had a history of just taking off into the woods or the desert or traveling to other countries, and I have no way to contact anyone. No one even knows where I am. Anything could happen to me and I could just disappear. And again, some people might not be that bothered by this. And maybe it just comes with the territory of getting a little bit older and realizing like, hey, we don't have that much time together and we are attached. So if something happens to me, it's going to really screw up your life. And do I want to make these decisions over and over again that may put you at risk? And even when it comes to taking care of ourselves, it's really the same thing. If you're really overweight and you don't have a good diet and you're not exercising and you have heart issues, it's perfectly reasonable for your partner to be concerned that you might just drop dead one day from a heart attack. And I know it might be really hard if you're in this position to face this challenge head on and make changes. But remember, it's not just about you. I have a personal story. My grandfather actually passed away at 56 from a heart attack, and he was the perfect candidate for this. He was overweight, stressed, not taking care of his health. He'd even had chest pain earlier in the day and decided not to go in and get help. And I don't know if my grandmother was concerned at this point, but either way, he passed away. And my mom had to live the rest of her life without her dad, and my grandmother without her spouse, and me without a grandfather. So if your partner is bringing concerns about your health, this is one of those ones that is really worth taking seriously. This is a big deal. It's a much bigger deal than who unloads the dishwasher more than the other. It's even a bigger deal than how we manage our money or how we deal with extended family or what color we paint the house. Really everything, because if you're dead, it's over. If you're partially disabled, everything changes. Now, with emotional safety issues, I do see this as equally important, but for different reasons, because emotional safety really dictates the quality of your life inside your home. If you don't feel safe to be you, if you're walking on eggshells in your own home, if it's constant chaos or a constant tension and things aren't getting talked through, life at home can feel like hell. And I hear this from a lot of clients. And sometimes things like kids can create a buffer to it, and people will stay in marriages until the kids leave the house because it's somewhat manageable. But at some point, it's just going to be you two in the house. So we need to constantly be taking the temperature of how our emotional safety is feeling. And one of the most dangerous situations I think relationally you could be in as a man is that your partner is not feeling emotionally safe and you think that nothing's wrong. There is no shared reality there. If both of you don't think that there's much emotional safety in the house, at least you're agreeing on the problem. You can see it for what it is. But if you're in denial and you think that's just your wife's problem, you're going to stay stuck there. And sometimes this can be hard for men to see and acknowledge because on the surface, we do feel fine. Maybe we've compartmentalized our stress. We've learned to not bring up our needs. So why don't you just do what I do? I don't bring things up. It's so much easier. And we short sell ourselves and sacrifice. I'm saying we, I actually don't think I do this much anymore, but a lot of guys do. But that is not the way to build a fulfilling relationship. And a lot of guys don't even know what that would look or feel like because they've never had it. And your wife bringing up her concerns about emotional safety is the thing that can finally wake you up to see that there is more to a relationship than just going on our separate paths and doing a few fun things here and there. It's possible to have disagreements and to go through the repair process and enjoy it and feel better afterwards and feel more connected and to look forward to those little disagreements because you learn more about yourself and you feel like you're really flexing your muscles. I think about this like me being in the gym. I used to really like to figure out what my 1 rep max was. And the stronger that I got, the more motivated I got. Maybe I can do a little bit more next time. Let's train harder. And even though I don't do that with weightlifting anymore, I feel like I'm still doing that with my ability to communicate and hold space and do this relational dance. So if you're hearing words like, I don't feel safe with you, I'd say there's a good chance that most of that is about you. Not all of it, because people bring their own baggage into relationships, but just for the sake of trying to be a more embodied, self-reflective man, I'd recommend you take most of that on. What am I doing that is prohibiting emotional safety or degrading emotional safety? Where have I not shown up? Where do I get defensive? Where do I always need to be right? How do I lose control of my emotions? Regardless of what happens over there, this is what it looks like to take extreme accountability in relationships. What if it's true that 90% of my wife's emotional safety concerns are about my inability to grow? This can really light a fire under your ass. So that's the way that I like to think about it. And I know that this has felt really inspiring for men that I work with to think about it this way too. And if you find yourself getting caught up in circular arguments about the past and you want to blame your wife for continually bringing up the past, what I'd encourage you to focus on is how you're handling that conversation in the moment. Are you able to be soft and kind and understanding? Are you able to validate and ask deeper questions? Sometimes that's all our partners really want, is they want us to say, yeah, that did happen. Tell me more about how that felt. What exactly was it that happened, or how I was being that really made you upset? Because sometimes the action that needs to be taken doesn't really matter as much as how we're just dealing with the conversation in the moment. So physical and emotional safety issues are one category. The second category that complaints come from is around fairness. And the way that our minds work, we're always looking out for this, right? We're watching the world. What's fair, what's not? Am I getting a good deal here or not? You don't just walk into a car dealership and say, yeah, I'll pay whatever you think it's worth. You want to haggle. You want to make sure you're not putting in too much. You want to make sure you're getting what they said you were going to get. And it works the same way in relationships. And some of the themes around what people will argue about with fairness is money, control over decisions, parenting, and usually household chores within the home. And this might seem small, but it's very symbolic of the relationship that you have with your partner. Ask any couple how they feel about how chores are handled in the house, and you'll get a more clear view on how they manage the relationship. And it's not trivial because this is the space that you live in. I'm talking about chores now. So if one person is doing all the work and the other person is sitting on the couch on their phone or watching TV, this probably isn't going to feel good for the person that's doing all the work. And as a man, we have to take a really honest look at this, because just because we worked as a man, I encourage you to take a hard look at this, especially if you're a working professional, because some men think that, hey, I went out into the world all day and I make the money and I come home and I'm just tired and I want to relax and I'm not really emotionally available. And so I got nothing left. And so you have to do it all. But a lot of times their partners have been at home all day, taking care of the kids, managing their own lives, taking care of the house. And that is work too. It just looks different. And so if you're a man that is working outside the home, you need to figure out a way to have some energy left when you come back so that you can show up as equal partners in the home. And I'm not saying that you divide chores completely equally, but you want to ask your partner how they're feeling about the setup. I find it's much easier to get ahead of the ball and ask how things are feeling than to just wait for the complaints to come. Because a lot of times women will hold those in. They don't want to burden their partners. Their partners already look stressed. And inside, they're starting to build this internal resentment, or they're feeling disappointed or sad. And then it's still on them to bring it up. And if you're at all defensive about it, this can create a toxic pattern where they just feel like they have to sweep their feelings under the rug, just bite the bullet, and this goes unacknowledged. So you'll notice a theme here, which is I really want to encourage guys to ask questions, to notice things they might not have noticed, look for blind spots, and then bring them to their partner's attention. That can feel really, really good for our partners because we're doing some of that emotional labor, mental labor to look for things, look for inequalities, look for feelings that might not be being expressed. And fairness is this thing that we're always balancing in long-term relationships. Just because something felt good a year ago doesn't mean that it's necessarily feeling good now. Maybe it's changed. And so we have to keep our finger on the pulse. Is this feeling fair for you? And is it feeling fair for me? You might be the one that feels like the relationship is unfair. What's ironic is a lot of times couples come in to see us and both people think it's not fair for different reasons. And I think the barrier to getting to fairness isn't about tweaking the way that we manage the house in a specific way. It's more emotional. Do I feel like if I need some help, you're going to be there? And vice versa. Because sometimes one partner does have to pull more of the weight for a period of time. The kids get sick, or you get sick, or you get injured, or you get laid off. Things are happening all the time. So it's more that can we handle and talk about the fairness and be in agreement with how we're doing things, and not so much about having the perfect formula, because it's never really going to be perfect if you haven't noticed. Now, the third category of complaints that you'll hear are purely emotional. That means that nothing needs to get solved. Your partner just wants to feel heard and seen and validated. And guys, this can be incredibly easy. If your wife wants to tell you a story about something that's happening with their friends or their family, or something that happened at their work or with the kids, or share about something they're interested in, it really doesn't have to be that hard to set your distractions aside, look them in the eye, focus on being present for 15 minutes, and just be there with them. Not give them advice, not be thinking about what you have to do later, just paying attention. And some women, based on what I've heard, are desperate for this. They don't need 3 hours a day. They just need to know that you have the ability to drop in with them. And excuses like, well, I don't care about what's going on with her friends or her hobby or what's going on at work, the drama there is such a petty excuse. Like, I know that Jenny doesn't care that much about pickleball, but when I come home and I'm sharing about it, here's what happened. Here's how I felt while I was playing. She knows how to drop in with me and ask some questions and be interested in me. That feels so good. And I really try to do the same for her. Even though I might not care that much about the dream she had last night, that's a common theme. She likes to share about her dreams. I'm interested in her and I'm interested in helping her feel seen. So that becomes the goal more than trying to assess her dreams or for me to get interested in dream work in general, which I'm really not. Sometimes our partners just want to have that experience of intimacy with us where we can share our internal worlds and connect on that level. And sometimes it's easy to get distracted by the surface issues or the complaints. But I promise you, if you get good at dropping in and tuning into your partner, you're going to feel a difference. That's why I think meditation is so important. Relational education is so important. Listening to podcasts like this is so important because it highlights things that you might not be aware of. A lot of guys don't even understand that there's anything going on with them internally. They're so good at blocking it out that they think there's nothing to talk about if we sit on the couch. But that's really just a lack of awareness. What's happening in the moment is always evergreen. There's always more coming forth. And we can talk about what's happened in the past or ideas while staying in the present moment. That's what really helps us feel connected to each other. So that's all I have today on complaints. There are 3 categories: safety issues, fairness issues, and emotional issues. So the next time that you feel like you're not getting it or your partner's not feeling gotten by you, look for what category of issue she might be bringing up and try to explore from there. Are you concerned about my safety? Are you concerned about your safety, emotional safety? Is there something that's not feeling fair? Or is this just emotional? Maybe you want to be heard, and I'm up for that. Good luck out there, guys. And I know there are also women that listen to this podcast. So good luck to you as well. You are welcome here. Even though it says 4 men in the title, I do hope that women listen to this podcast too. Share it with your man. Keep coming back. I'll be on next week. Peace.